So we have people upstairs. We have our building right now is full because people are voting.
That's right, it's packed. We have 3 and 4-year-olds that are waiting for ballots. They are. They're waiting for ballots right now. You know what? The cool part about seeing that, and I'm gonna be honest, I have not seen lines like this since the 90s. I remember, because when I first started voting, you know, you could roll in, roll out. It's like, you could vote quicker than you could pump gas back in the day.
Yeah.
Now, it's some time.
Well, people are really excited about this because early voting has been at an all-time high, and today it's just a blessing that it's not raining anything to hinder anyone from making it to the polls. So if you haven't...
Bishop and I were talking about this last week, and it seems like to someone like me, because you talked about purple voters, like I'm a purple voter, right? I'm just like, who's the best candidate? I'm going to go with that person. And a lot of times, like I feel like our generation, especially the younger generation, people younger than me, feel like what my vote, it doesn't feel like it counts. Like, you know, it doesn't matter what I do, you know, X person is going to win anyway, it really doesn't matter. Whereas I think this particular election, like it feels like there's a lot of things that can swing. You know, it feels like,
oh, it's getting ready to swing.
It's a whole lot of swinging.
It's a whole lot of swinging.
Baseball?
Yeah.
It's going to be some swinging.
Some swinging. And they're swinging for the bleachers.
Yeah, they are.
Yes. But I think you're right, though. I think that it is. I'm happy to see it. Because I got sick of being in the barbershop and people talking, man, no, your vote don't count. You ain't gotta vote. I'm thinking,
it does this time.
Sometimes on the national level, it's hard to see it, but on a local level, it's very important.
Right.
Yes.
Because those are the things that directly affect us.
Yeah, every day. That's right, every day.
Okay,
Josh
so
had the week off.
Man, I tell you what.
Just chilling.
So here,
laying back in the cut.
So here's the deal, and y'all
sitting on the front row, sucking on a sucker.
Sucking on a sucker.
I wish we would have taken
Every once in a while, yelling at Neil. Neil said something.
Josh kicked
I don't agree with that.
Josh taking shoes out, talking about, nope.
But you know what? Coming from being a single pastor, you know, at our church, for like, I tell you what, the weeks I don't have to preach.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's a beautiful week.
Part of time.
I'm like, is this a vacation week? This is amazing. So here's the deal. So we have, like, I feel the sensitivity. We have 9 questions.
Yeah.
Right?
Not really. Not really.
We have 9 questions and our comments and our things we're going to ignore.
You're right.
Right.
I'm just gonna sit here and ride.
I'm just watching the clock. I'm thinking we got to push these things. All right. Comment number 1. Welcome to Grace Unfiltered, by the way. Comment number 1 is, as Bishop was preaching this past Sunday, we were noticing this suit was nice. Bishop, where did you get that suit?
From Memphis, Tennessee.
You drove all
if you want a good suit, go to Memphis. There
you go.
We're going to skip right over that. Number 2.
Tennessee.
Will we? All good things come from Memphis.
Oh,
number 2.
Look at that.
Hey, that was a lob.
That was
a lob. That was a lob. But you just.
I feel like I did a good job. There you go. Number 2. Will we do anything on Thanksgiving?
Eat.
I'm gonna eat. I mean,
at my house.
Yeah. Are you smoking anything?
Without you.
Oh, that's a loaded question.
Yeah. Are you smoking anything for Thanksgiving?
Am I preaching after Thanksgiving? I'm not. I guess I am.
No, I mean, no, we won't do anything.
Yeah, we're not going to do anything here.
But will you? Now, in all seriousness,
I'm gonna smoke a turkey.
If you smoke something, Josh. What was that, a pork butt or something? What was that, pork loin?
Them ribs, man.
No,
them ribs.
The ribs and that other thing.
Well, the other things
I didn't try anything else but them ribs, man. The ribs was out of this world.
It was good.
Yeah.
Grand slam.
I got to figure out what I.
Well, the guy who connected us gave me a big green egg. And he's like, here's a big green egg.
He didn't want to take it with him.
Well, he couldn't because he moved to a church that came with a
a big green egg.
No,
Parsonage.
A parsonage.
Yeah.
But the parsonage is a beach town. The parsonage was a 2-bedroom a condo on the beach on like the 5th floor, and it was fully furnished. So he could literally take his paintings with him, and like he sold 90% of his stuff because he's moving. Yeah, all that. Yeah. Okay, wow. Number 3. That's so I got a free briefing, and now I'm a barbecue expert because of that. Okay, number 3. Yeah. Please share with the worship team that they did an incredible job this past week. They always do, but today was really amazing. I tell you what, they did good. Both services were really good.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Amen. They felt it.
Yeah.
Especially that middle song. If I'm right, that middle song came from like, I feel like I sang that back in the 90s. Like when I was that new to y'all?
Yeah.
I felt like I knew that before.
That is an old hymn-like song. I cannot think of the name, the original name. Now that's just the chorus or the hook of the song.
Right, but like when Jessica brought that out, like I was like, ooh, this is good.
Man, you felt like Kirk Franklin.
Yeah. What's the next question?
The next question is this, Neil.
Oh man, yeah.
How do you spell similar?
So
I've noticed this before.
There's certain words.
There's certain words.
Yeah.
So for example, when Bishop says humble, he says humble. Yeah. Like he drops the H, right?
Yeah.
When you say similar, you say simular.
I do. Yeah. So
how do you spell similar?
They're spelled the same way.
It's the North Little Rock school system.
There you go. North Little Rock public school system.
I still call our first president. Go ahead and get it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I still call our first president George Washington. I stick an R right in
Washington.
The middle. Washington.
Y'all gonna help me back up?
No. You gotta.
Don't let that paper stay there.
Yeah.
Oh no, I need that paper.
No, I actually have, and I've told you guys this before. Like I have notes on things that you guys do, so that I can make fun of you more effectively. And
I still got a video.
And similar was in my notes.
Was it really?
Yeah.
So tell, how do you say it? Similar?
It's similar.
Similar.
SIMI.
LAR. So I spelled it wrong when I was typing.
And you put a U in there?
And I put LIAR.
Okay.
It was a semi-liar. So I was like, that's not right.
So if you can just start mispronouncing it a different way every week, then that would just throw people off.
It'll throw people off, yeah. So say it again, it's similar.
Just keep saying similar.
Similar.
We don't want to change. We don't want to say similar. We don't want to change humble.
Yeah.
And it's always going to be George Washington. It's just the way things are.
At this stage in my life, it's hard to change anything.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Hey, Josh, he's 62 years old. He ain't going to change nothing.
I understand he made an age reference, and I was going to skip right by it. Keep on going. Number 5, does Grace United support any missionaries helping Ukraine refugees?
That's a good question.
I have answers for that.
Cool. Because I was going to ask, I was helping somebody that helped some kids in Ukraine about 2 months ago.
Yeah, so we don't have anybody distinctly at Grace United that is working with Ukrainian refugees. But this year we gave, I think, about $8,000 to a combination through Young Life. So we support Young Life here in the city, and Young Life has people that did that.
That's right.
We support some individuals that do like a music ministry, and they had people in Poland who were helping Ukrainian refugees, and then we have some Central Eurasian missionaries that were helping people get across the border. And so we don't have a distinct individual who's working with Ukrainian refugees as far as, they're on our website.
Yeah.
But we gave, like, again, I'm running from memory, but it was somewhere between $8,000 and $9,000 early this year to people who were directly working with that. And so yes, cool. Grace United has given to that. And, and it's one of those things that we have as a missions, we have our regularly supported missionaries. We also have leeway to give to special projects. In fact, some of our missionaries are, when they go on special trips, and so we consider those special projects, and so Grace United gave to that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Good?
That's real cool.
Number 6. This is where it turns.
Yeah, it shifts.
And the questions start becoming more, less similarly. And more.
Oh, you better be humble.
Right, gotta be humble.
Because some of these gonna be similar.
One of these days I'm gonna write a sermon. It's gonna be a 2-point sermon. Because we are not similar, we should be humble with one another. Yeah. Number 6, am I not saved if I don't feel the burning need to share the gospel?
No, you are saved. You can be saved without feeling the burning in your bosom to share the gospel. We're saved by grace through faith, not of ourselves.
Right.
It's a gift of God. I believe coming with the desire to share the gospel is about spiritual growth, and having that passion of realizing, first of all, the appreciation for your own salvation, that in many cases someone shared it with you. And as a result of someone sharing it with you, we ought to be willing and have a desire to share with others. And I realize it takes a lot of growth, a lot of confidence sometimes to even have the nerve to do that. Yeah. But you should never question your salvation based on the fact that you're not being a witness. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's good.
We good with that?
Yeah, I'm straight. Yeah.
Good.
No, it wasn't in my sermon, so I just,
I didn't preach on that.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, but that's something, because that was really the first thing that I start doing as a believer was witnessing to others. I feel like the first calling on my life was an evangelist, to go out and win people to Christ. So,
of your spiritual gifts, that's definitely near the top.
Yes, yes.
Of the three of us, you're the most natural evangelist here by far.
Innate.
Number 7.
Ooh-wee.
This one specifically has your name on it.
It does. It does.
So, so it says, "No rebuke us for not fooling." They put the G there.
They did. Fooling. Yeah.
For fooling.
Yeah.
With that was. Okay.
So that's incorrect.
With people.
Yeah. That's fooling.
But what if they are toxic?
Yeah, that was tough. So here's the deal.
Putting the mic up.
No comment. No comment. No. So let me say this, and this is going to come out. I'm trying to make it as low, whatever is possible.
Do it.
But this is more of a review rather than a rebuke. I didn't want to rebuke anybody by not dealing with being engaged with someone, even though someone has, because the statement that I made was about accepting one another, but not dealing with one another, not going deeper in that relationship. So it was more of a review. Are you, where are you in that continuum? Wednesday nights we talked about just penetrating that relationship where we completely integrated, that kind of line of continuum. So that's part of the deal. The other deal is this. So let me just say this. Ephesians 4:32 talks about being kind to each other. So regardless of whether or not we deem someone as toxic or not, we still have a responsibility to be kind to one another. So it's really up to both groups, both sides of how deep you go in that relationship. I can fool with you. I can accept you with the love of Christ, but then I can fool with you or deal with you. I can deal with you only to the level that you will allow me.
And see if this is fair. I feel like when you were talking about that, we're talking about two categories of relationships.
Exactly.
So because I feel like, and tell me if I'm, this is how I feel. I feel like our culture is we too easily reject the other, or just don't deal with them. If they don't benefit me immediately, then I'm done. That is different.
Exactly.
Than dealing with a toxic individual in relationships, in a family, in an organization.
Exactly.
You know, and so I don't believe they cancel each other out. I believe you're supposed to fool with people and not, and also understand that there's boundaries in your life.
Exactly.
In that context.
And you have to have permission. You know, I get permission from God to share with you, but I also have to have permission from you to go deeper in that relationship.
Absolutely.
So that's the whole deal. And you know, you're talking about that. I think the result of some of the stuff is the whole cancel culture thing.
Right.
You know, a lot of times we call things toxic. They're not really toxic.
Yeah.
We just don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Two different things.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, we don't want to fool with them.
We don't want to fool with them.
And that term goes again.
I'm trying to shift. I can't think of another word. That's it.
Okay, these next two are more paragraphy.
Yeah, they are. But they're a lot. They go very deep.
They do.
Yeah.
So number 8 is this, and we have 9 for those that are keeping up. Number 8 is this. Hello, pastors. I heard your response to happy wife, happy life. We talked about that a couple of Unfiltereds ago. I ask you, this, have any of you heard a positive mantra for men? The reason I say this is that the devil has launched an attack on men where they are being demonized for being men or looked upon as a slave only here to provide and protect. I believe God would not be pleased with our unwillingness to confront this evil. Most men have relinquished all God-given authority to be the head of a family just to be liked or to be admired by the world. And I think here's the core of their questions. So that was more like a statement. Here's the core of the questions. How do men take back their position of authority? And what does an example of a man of God look like? Which that seems like a really good starting place.
Yeah.
What does an example of a man of God look like? So they're struggling with, I think I've heard this before.
It's the conflict of what the world says a man is and what they believe, I guess, most men are. You know, dealing with, we were talking about the guys, there was a ministry fresh years ago that we dealt with young adults, and most of those guys were just from the street. They were just hard or whatever. But all of them went through this transformation of being hard in a group to being kind of lonely because they changed, you know, when you're pulling away from folks in this group, and then there's this period of just kind of loneliness and transition. And they kept saying, man, I feel like I'm weak. I feel like I'm weak. And I don't know if that's where some of that is coming from or not, because that's real. I mean, if I'm hard all the time and I'm hard in the group, but I'm trying to walk in the tenets and the principles of God, and I should, you know, vengeance is Lord, you know, vengeance is the Lord's, you know, God said I'll repay, you know, love those that despitefully use you, turn the other cheek, all this other stuff. If I've never lived that way, I'm feeling weak.
Yeah, it's a big adjustment. I went through the same thing, getting saved as a teenager with the group that I was fooling with. It was a big transition to go from that group to a Maurice, Prentice, and Randy.
Yeah, because they're different.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other crew is hard and is hard about everything or whatever. And I think sometimes we struggle. I mean, come on, as men, we struggle with that. And I think that's maybe the root of that question. Part of that question is
part of the question.
But the other part is what does it look like?
If I'm doing my best to read between the lines of this question, I believe I've heard this question before as, you know, the emasculation of men. You know, our culture tries, you know, and men should be men, and they should take up the role of authority in the church and authority in their family, and they should stop trying to please other people. And like we do believe in, you know, properly understood an idea of biblical authority, those type of things. And so I think that we can all also agree that from the very beginning, you know, Genesis 1-3 in the fall, men have abdicated their roles and responsibilities, and our culture has suffered
Yeah.
as a result of that. But I do think, I think the question of what does a man of God look like? I think that is, again, like with the time that we have, the first person that comes to my mind is David.
And man, there you go.
Like a man after God's own heart,
man.
and he's a warrior.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But he also likes to dance in the streets.
Right.
That embarrasses his family. They're like, hey, you should put clothes on and stop dancing. He's like, I love Jesus, so I'm gonna get my dance on.
Yeah.
And so I believe that's a complicated question, but I do validate that all of us Romans have fallen, and we all are not living up to it affects our roles and responsibilities.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think, they were talking about mantras and all of that. I don't think that, happy wife, happy life, I think that that's our survival statement sometimes. Well, let's not talk about happy life, happy wife, happy life. But I think a man's mantra is iron sharpens iron. I think if you're going to be a man, then you got to be around iron and not something else that won't sharpen you, make you better, whatever. Yeah. If you want a banner or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, happy wife, happy life, that's such a shallow statement as well.
Yeah. Sure.
There's so much more that comes into play with a man and his wife, a husband and his wife, them having a happy life together. There's so many other things that the wife has to do for her own well-being. So many things that the husband, the man, has to do for his own well-being. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That's it. What else you got, Josh? You good?
One more.
Okay.
Hello.
Oh,
my question is, if God has no respect of persons, and I understand that to mean that he shows no favoritism between people, then explain the different treatment of people. We kind of treated this a couple of weeks ago as well, but it has some twists to it. Mm-hmm. If God is large and in charge, that's a Bishop one.
That's it. Good night.
So Bishop, no. If God is large and in charge, then why would he make a world where favoritism, biases, and unfair treatment run rampant? How does God define fair treatment? If we are all equal in God's sight, why are there such varying levels of treatment? Moses was given the opportunity for a new people when the children of Israel were worshiping false gods right after being delivered out of slavery. Ham, on the other hand, looked upon the nakedness of his father, which is really wrong of him, but then God responded to Ham was to curse generations of his descendants. Is it me? And I think this is the core of the question.
This is the question.
This is the core of the question. At least this is what I feel reading through the lines. Is it me, or does it seem like an unjust thing to do to curse people that hadn't done anything anything to people not yet born? So I think the core of the question is, and if I'm reading between the lines, doesn't it seem that God is unjust in the way that he deals with certain people in certain groups and not others?
Sometimes it does feel that way. I mean, here's the deal. If you're looking at let's go to ham. Let's just go directly to some ham. It's lunchtime. So that was bad. That was real bad. But
and this is why Neil's no longer a stand-up comedian, except at 10:45 on Sunday mornings.
Right. So the whole Ham situation. Ham came in, saw his father drunk, and then ran out and told his brothers, "Dad in there drunk, he naked, you tripping." But the other
I ain't fooling with him.
I ain't fooling with him. I accept him, but I ain't fooling with him. But the rest of the Shem and Japheth came in, backed in with a cloak and covered him up.
Okay.
So I think it was I think God is big on the intention. If Ham's intention was right,
okay,
then this is Neil.
Right.
If Ham's intention was right, instead of running to expose his dad, he could have easily gone and come back, covered his dad, and said everything okay. The parable in Luke 15, if the father understood since he understood the immaturity of the younger son.
Sure.
I like the phrase you use all the time. He went to his dad and said, I wish you were dead because I want these. The father understood that he's growing, he's maturing. And the intent of the father in that parable matches the intent of Christ. But then but the whole curse of the generation and all of that. In the Old Testament, I mean, what is it? In Exodus somewhere, either 34 or 20, it talks about remembering the iniquities of the fathers into the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. That was just not necessarily God's way of doing things, but God's way of doing things. And Jesus came and broke that whole piece. Otherwise, we'd be in hell right now. Did I mess that up real good?
No, you're doing a good job.
Okay. Bishop said, yep.
No, I had them short answers for stuff like that.
What's your short
feel about
answer?
eternity? No problem.
Right. Yeah, but does it seem, so the question is, does it seem unfair?
Does it seem unfair? And I think, so the generation thing, let's hit that first, and what I would say is number one, everyone can see that. Let's take it outside of Scripture just for a second.
Okay.
If you have a particular sin in your life, if I have a particular sin in my life, and we have children, our children usually pick up on that and move it to the next generation. And we talk about breaking generational curses, right? It takes that person to say, this is wrong, I'm going to stop this and break the cycle that is naturally handed down from generation to generation. So I think there's a psychological and sociological answer to that question, but also, the biblical and theological, you went to the Old Testament, the idea of, there's a big part in Deuteronomy.
Okay.
In Deuteronomy, it talks about the blessings and the curses.
Yeah.
God gives the law, and He said, these are some of the most important chapters in the Old Testament. He says, if you follow the law as my people, you will receive these blessings. So this is what I'm going to do for you. And if you don't follow the law, here are the curses that you're going to receive.
Yeah.
And the curses involved, this will last for generations and generations. So you see a little bit of that concept in there.
Yeah.
But I also want to go back to I think the core question is, and let me ask you guys this, and because I think the core of their question, because they're giving examples, and we can go through 1,000 examples.
Right.
I think the core of their question is, when I feel like God is unjust, I look at my life, Bishop, I look at my life, Neil, I look at my life, I look at my situation, I look at my world, and I feel like there's a right and a wrong, and God is not, he's not picking the right, he's not powerful enough to change the right.
Yeah.
When I feel like God is choosing things that are unjust, like how do you deal? Because I think we
reconcile
all
that?
feel that way at some point. So
Yeah.
how do you, when that bubbles up, how do you deal with looking at God and saying, I feel like you're unjust?
Yeah, go ahead, Bishop.
Well, I guess the biggest thing, what I've been able to experience in my own life, sometimes we look at just the right now.
Yep.
And not the long-term ramifications of what the possibilities are.
Right.
Because usually when we feel mistreated, misunderstood, it's the right now. Scripture tells us, and we know that all things work together for the good of those who love God and to those who are the called according to His purpose.
Right.
That doesn't happen overnight. There's been some things that I've experienced in life, and in the moment, I'm like, God, this ain't right. This is not fair. I don't like how this is working out. But then when I look back, and there's old saying in the African American community, we'll understand it better by and by.
Right.
And we just sometimes look at the right now and not the long-term benefits that ended up sometimes happening to us for the good. We just look at the bad and not the long term. So,
Because how can we judge God? I mean, do we really have the ability to judge God as just?
Because we judge of our selfishness.
Yeah. And so we don't have a pedigree to do that.
Right. So because we lack all the omnis.
That's right. We have none of the omnis.
We lack the omniscience.
Right.
Right. You know, and God says, "My ways are higher than your ways. My thoughts are higher than your thoughts." All of those things.
Yeah. And then I think in some situations, people look at it being mistreated. God knows our capacity, our servability, what we can handle. You know, God may bless someone else with something that's quote unquote on the surface bigger than what I have, but God knows my weight capacity, what I can handle. That other person may have a greater calling on their life, so they've got more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the whole generations thing is, you're right. I think that's, even from a sociological perspective, like you kind of laid out. What's funny is that we will accept that a whole lot quicker, and we'll argue with Scripture.
All day long.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just, sociologically, you're predisposed to have da-da-da.
Well, that goes back to what you guys preached and unveiled in Romans chapter 1, is that although we know God, we as humans feel like it's interesting. We feel like not only can we argue with God, which He allows us to do by His grace, but we feel like we have the right to stand in judgment over God and say, so I think I do two things. I would say this person too, because they're probably feeling some turmoil in their life, to ask the question. But I always start in two places. One is, I love what you said. One of the practice I have, so one of two things. One, I read the Bible every year from beginning to end, and that helps me put my story in the context of the story. And so you can look through the millennia and see where something seems unjust, but God did exactly what Bishop said. So that's just an expounding. For me, practically, I read through the Bible every year because it gives me the bigger story. But secondly, what I would say is, if you're a believer, and this is the answer to so many things to me, start with the cross. Because if you look at the cross, then you see the sinless, perfect Son of the living God being killed for the unrighteous, being killed for the unjust. And so if you can look at that and accept that, which, if you're a believer, then you can. You say, okay, the sinless one died for the sinner. Then you can be able to understand. At least you have a foundation to say, I can trust in a God who, when I look at something that seems unjust, I know He has a reason behind it. And if you can accept the cross, then take that infinitely the most important moment in human history, in the history of the cosmos, in eternity, and take it down 4,000 notches to where you're at, and say, okay, God, going back to what Bishop said, has a plan for what I'm going through, or what the world is going through, or what my community is going through. Yeah, and we got to trust Him from that point until the point of revelation. Absolutely. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Good job, guys. Yeah, well done. Absolutely.
Well done, guys. Well done.
Well done. So if I end this like Neil normally does.
Oh, here we go.
Here's when it. So I'm a radio personality, and we are thankful that you guys are here at Grace Unfiltered. We are at 12900 Cantrell Road. There you go. That's Sunday mornings at 9 o'clock and at 10:45, and we a little slice of heaven, or whatever the saying is.
If you want to know what heaven looks like.
You know what heaven looks like.
It looks like Grace United.
Don't look like this. All right.
And hey, look, I also want to encourage everyone to press your way either to 9 or to the 10:45. And I tell you what, there's room at the 10:45. Come and be a part of what God is doing right here at 12900 Cantrell at 10:45.
Your turn, Neil. Go.
Good night. I can't beat all of that, dude.